I was not paid to make this video, nor was I paid to promote new products, but I am a passionate foiler seeking to find the perfect wing for the lake. This is my first experience with Starboard foils, and I'm excited to give it a try. I'd like to thank the crew at North Beach Windsurfing for sharing this equipment with me. This is my first experience with Starboard foils, so I wanted to share the unboxing setup and some of my initial impressions. This is a nice carrying case. It's well built with quality materials and has nice inserts to allow different layers of foiling equipment to be stored. According to the Starboard website, the E-Type 1700 is designed for glide, speed, and max pumping efficiency. This is exactly the size and shape of foil that I've enjoyed. Large enough area to generate a lot of lift, yet high enough aspect ratio so it has a nice low drag with a long glide. This wing has two unique attributes that jump out at me. The first is that the wingtips point down quite a bit, giving the wing an anhedral shape at the tips, and the second is the gull wing shape, or double concave as Starboard calls it. This is the 82 centimeter monolithic carbon mast with an integrated base plate. The integrated mast and base plate is nice. It makes for one fewer connection to make and also packs relatively well. This is the carbon tailpiece that sits between the mast and the rear wing. This is the 36, which is one of the two options from Starboard. The tailpiece connects the fuse in the rear wing with a screw on one side called a pressure bolt. The pressure bolt basically works like a set screw, establishing a tight friction fit on the interior of the fuselage against the tailpiece. The front wing attaches to the fuselage with a similar pressure bolt concept, so I'll explain it here as it's somewhat easier to see. You'll see that the front wing slides on the fuselage relatively well, but when you tighten the pressure bolt down too much, the front wing won't fit on. But if you loosen the pressure bolt off a half turn and put it in its neutral state, the front wing slides on very easily. And when the wing is in place, do a half turn on the pressure bolt to lock it in place. The pressure bolt separates these two pieces and gives a nice friction fit for the front wing. The rear wing mounts to the carbon tailpiece and has a saddle that the rear wing can slide in until the screws are tightened down. This allows you to adjust the angle of attack. This is an alternative to using shims that I found to be quite clever, and it worked well. The rear wing angle of attack is about preference. A rear wing acts to pull the foil down, pitching the nose up. It's what keeps the foil stable. It's sometimes called a stabilizer. If you adjust the rear wing to a larger negative angle of attack, it will want to pitch up more aggressively and will load your front foot more. If you adjust the rear wing to a less negative angle of attack, make it flatter, it will load your back foot more and will be less pitch sensitive. In this case, the rear wing drags less and you glide further. This tends to be my preference. And the degree by which you adjust the wing is dependent on the fuselage length, and it's really about preference. You'll have to play with it. Today I'm using the Razor 250 rear wing. This wing has a 40 centimeter wingspan. I'm a big fan of wing covers, and they're sold separately with Starboard. Not only do the wing covers stop the wing from getting dings, but they also save my door and walls from getting dings too. With 4 more attachments, that brings the total to 9, which is quite a few, and that doesn't include the 4 needed to attach the foil to the board. I've only used my foils in fresh water, but if I had to use them in salt water and assembled and disassembled them after each use, the ease of setup is an important consideration. The E-Type 1700 setup is a light foil at only 6.8 pounds or 3.1 kilos. I was surprised. At 1700 square centimeters and only 96 centimeters of wingspan, the aspect ratio becomes mid-aspect at 5.4. Note that this calculation is based on the actual area, not the horizontal projected area. When I read through the Facebook forum posts, I'm jealous of what November weather looks like elsewhere. But I'm an optimist and think that the longer I push the end of my season back, the shorter winter will be. Plus, it's an excuse for me to buy nice wetsuits and other winter water gear. This wasn't an easy wing to launch, and I was surprised at that, given its 1700 square centimeter area. I can launch most wings this size with my bungee. But it was at this moment I realized that this wing was going to be difficult to ride. With the double concave shape, that gull wing shape, and the wingtips pointed down and a lot of area concentrated at the wingtips, this wing, when it wants to roll, it's naturally unstable. And a lot of anhedral wings, once they start to roll, they will want to keep on rolling. It's a nice feature, it makes carving a lot nicer, but it requires a very precise pumping technique. In a prior test, I looked at the Axis 1000. It was another anhedral wing with much less area, and I found it was a quick pumping speed wing at 5.2 meters per second across the 30-meter course. By comparison, the E-Type 1700 is an anhedral wing as well, but I found it to be quite a bit slower at 4.4 meters per second. I think it was my imprecise pumping technique. While the Axis 1000 also had an anhedral shape, the area at the wingtips was much less. That might have made the pumping easier to control. While I found it hard to pump this anhedral-shaped Starboard E1700, it was certainly nice to carve. A small roll of the ankles and a small yawing action yielded deep carves. For pumping, I enjoy 1700 plus square centimeter wings at my weight of 190 pounds or 86 kilos. That gives me adequate lift to unlock greater time away from the boat. Similar to the bungee test, I observed this rolling sensitivity during pumping. I need to adjust my pumping technique for these larger anhedral wings. This wing was unable to surf the second wake of the jet ski without pumping, but of the 8 wings I've most recently tested, this performed the best and required less pumping than these other wings. Due to its anhedral shape, this wing was nice to pump through the carve. The anhedral wingtips help to lift through the carve, lifting you up vertically and tighter towards the inside of the circle you're cutting. The Axis 1000 is still my favorite wing to wake transfer. It provides a tight circle despite having a larger wingspan at 100 centimeters versus the E1700's 96 centimeters. The E1700 was stable at high speeds, but just look how pitched down the nose was to reduce the lift on that board. That requires a lot of front foot pressure at higher speeds. As I was nearing the end of this outing on the E1700, you can see my pumping skills starting to improve as I became more precise and purposeful with the back foot pumping action. The E1700 is a nice looking foil with nice fit and finish. I believe it's well engineered and designed and has a very nice carrying case. But the 1700 was technically challenging for me to ride. A small rolling action resulted in the wing wanting to continue to roll and me needing to correct that action. The flip side is that makes this wing a lot easier to carve. It carved comfortably and with ease. Simply put, I'll just need to clock more hours on the 1700 before I get totally used to the pumping needed to keep it stable. My pursuit for the perfect lake foil began when I purchased the Axis 1150 5 months ago, and it doubled my pumping duration. This is what triggered my switch to high aspect wings and my pursuit for a perfect high aspect wing. Over the last few months I've had the luck of trying a few of them, and after trying these I've consistently found that the Axis 1150 is the right wing for me at my weight, and I can strongly recommend this wing to those seeking to surf small wakes and ride distant wakes from your or another vessel. The Axis 1150 is also the wing I've flown the most, with probably more than 50 hours on it this summer. In some respects it's hardly fair to compare any wing to it, as I might only get 3 to 4 hours of ride time on any new wing I try. But the Axis 1150 is what I know and it's my benchmark. Choosing your wing is about preference and about what you want to do with the foil. For me and my pursuits, the Axis 1150 continues to be my favorite wing for the lake. Reviews of all of these wings and more can be found on my YouTube channel, and I will include a clickable link to the Axis 1150 review at the end of this video. In next week's video, I'm excited to fly the Starboard 2400. This will be the largest hydrofoil I've ever flown.